Chapter 1, chapter title. Yes, it's a placeholder.
Taylor Swift, please don't sue me. I just wanna write a cool book series.
Hi, I'm Sian, and I'm hoping that you want to write a book with me. This week, I'll be going over one of the character studies that I've written, as well as how far I've gotten into chapter 1. Yes, I have actually written some of chapter 1 this week. Woo! If you are interested in writing a book with me, then you should definitely subscribe and hit that like button and tell all your friends so that the algorithm will like me. So yes, I have actually written something this week, which is a total positive. I feel like this is peak ADHD to use a new project to get out of a slump. But hey, I'm going to take the win while I'm winning. So the way that I ended up deciding on what I was going to write for the character study this week was I started to write chapter 1, and then I got to a point where it was like, I've met Toby, and then I thought, oh, they would have met prior to this. I looked up all of the things that happen in going into a feature film. Oh my gosh, there is so much research that I have to do for this because I don't know anything about making films. So I decided to write his wardrobe fitting, and usually for the big stars, they're done on their own. But I thought, maybe Toby gets places early. At the end of this one, Beata said something like, I guess we're going to have to hate Toby before you make us love him. And I suppose the thing is that I'm trying to get into the whole thing of, in his head, he's got this real pressure to prove himself. And the way that he sees it at the moment is that April is standing in the way of that. When I sent this to my alpha readers, once again, they loved it, which is always a plus. But also Julia said, hang on, I've got to find this because I was so proud. She said, that's perfect, just as I imagined Toby to be. And I was so stoked because my biggest concern was that I would write him in a way that he wasn't as she pictured him. And it's important to me that I get Julia's book boyfriend, right? So without further ado, let's get into this week's character study. This one I have very cleverly called Toby's wardrobe fitting. Again, I'm creative. Toby's wardrobe fitting. I park the Audi I've leased for my time in the US in the parking area I was designated, then follow the map I was given to a big building on the studio backlot. I'm grateful for the massive numbers painted on the sides of the buildings, or I would have gotten lost. People are milling around, some in costumes or moving set pieces, and everything is loud and noisy, giving me the strong urge to get back into my car and drive back to the peace and quiet of my rented apartment. I ignore my desire and head inside, making my way through the buildings until I find the wardrobe department. I've been to hundreds of wardrobe fittings when I was in The Blues, a police drama in the UK, but they were nothing like this. The room is massive and filled with far more outfits than we ever would have needed for our TV show. I have a few moments to look around before a woman appears and gasps when she sees me. Oh my God, you gave me a shock. I wasn't expecting you yet. Tobias Jameson, right? Toby, I correct her. The name my family uses for me grates on my nerves from all the times I've heard it in sentences like, why don't you become a doctor like your brother Tobias? Or, Tobias, you need to start thinking about the future. Give up on acting and start planning a real career. Toby, she smiles. I'm Emma. You're early, but that's okay. We're just finishing up with April. Do you mind waiting? I resist the urge to roll my eyes at the name April and nod instead. Emma leads me over to a sofa at the side of the room, and I take a seat before I pull out my phone and start reading a news article that came up in my notifications. The text is a little blurry because I don't have my glasses with me, so I increase the font size to make it easier to read. I'm halfway through when Emma appears back in front of me with Davina Smith, the costume designer for the movie. Behind them is April Conway, the woman playing my love interest in the film. She's wearing a black and white pattern playsuit with a caramel-coloured bag slung over one shoulder and matching stilettos. She's tall, and the playsuit only comes to just above her upper thigh, so I can't help but admire the view of her long legs. She has a dazzling smile on her face and is laughing with the two women as she enters the room. When she sees me, her face falls for just an instant before she bestows upon me a far less breathtaking smile. Tobias, she says in a not unfriendly tone, but her voice has no warmth. It's so good to see you again. Toby, I correct her automatically. She's already walking over to the side of the room, but she stops and turns back to look at me. Pardon? I go by Toby. I thought since we're going to be working together so closely, I should correct you now so it's not awkward later. Right. She gives me another polite smile. My apologies, Toby. Not a problem. I haven't been able to get April out of my mind since my audition. For the first few days, I was angry that she'd seemingly blown my audition by forgetting her line. Once I'd received the call from my agent to tell me I'd secured the role, I still couldn't stop thinking about her. The fact that her songs are played almost non-stop wherever I go doesn't help. I'm equally excited to act opposite her and terrified she's going to ruin my first big film because she's a complete novice. There was a moment during my audition where I thought she must have done some acting courses because she was phenomenal, but then she forgot her line and it became apparent that she was just a pop star playing at being an actress. It's fine for her. She's April Conway. If this movie flops, she'll still be the #1 female singer of all time. If this movie flops, Hollywood may not give a relatively unknown English actor another chance. The idea of heading home with my tail between my legs is deeply unsettling. That's perfect, April, Davina says as she lowers the camera she used to take April's picture. You're all done. We'll let you know if you need to come in for any more changes. Thanks so much, Dev. April smiles brilliantly at her and it lights up her whole face. You're welcome. Just leave the outfit on the hanger if you don't mind. Then we can get started with Toby. April nods and heads back in the direction she came from without even looking at me. I'm distracted as Davina tells me about some of the changes they've made to my outfit for this final fitting, but I dutifully take the suit she gives me from a nearby rack and head in the direction she indicates for the fitting room. I approach one of the changing cubicles as another opens and April appears, the playsuit neatly hung up and resting over her arm. She's carrying the shoes and bag in her other hand and adjusting the waistband of her skirt with it as well. She's changed into a crop top and miniskirt that's possibly shorter than the playsuit was. Her heels are even higher than the ones from her costume, and she looks like an absolute goddess. I certainly have a strong urge to worship at her feet like so many of her fans. April looks up from her skirt and seems startled when she sees me. She gives a little gasp and her eyes go wide as her hand flies to her chest. Oh my gosh, she scared me. I seem to have that effect on people today, I say, recalling Emma's reaction when I arrived. Ah. She doesn't say anything more, and we stand in awkward silence for a moment. I don't really know what to say to her. I've met many famous people since becoming an actor. I even have my own fans. But there's something about April that is the next level of stardom. She's a literal household name, but she's standing in front of me looking perfectly normal. Aside from the fact that she's probably the sexiest woman I've ever met. Well, Hava, I start to end the conversation, but am cut off when April starts talking simultaneously. Look, about. She cuts herself off, then continues, Sorry, you go. No, what were you going to say? It didn't sound like she was about to say goodbye. Her cheeks have gone pink, and her embarrassment is oddly normal, but I'm not sure what she's embarrassed about. I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for forgetting my line at your audition. I felt so bad, but it didn't matter because you were so good that it didn't make a difference. I ignore the spark of pleasure from her compliment and frown as my concerns about how she'll perform in the film come rushing back. Yes, that was unfortunate. I'm hoping your performance during filming will be much better. I choose my words carefully, but April's eyes narrow and she meets my gaze head on. What exactly are you trying to say, Toby Jameson? I know she's the biggest singer in the world and the star of this film, so she likely has the kind of influence that could get me kicked out of the role. That knowledge doesn't stop me from being honest with her. I'm saying that some of us have studied acting because it was our passion in life. Some of us have worked incredibly hard to get where we are. Others of us have been handed things on a silver platter because of our position in life. Getting a film credit like this as your first acting gig must have been a huge surprise. Or maybe not. Maybe you expect it at this point. Either way, I hope that you are able to actually act and not stand there like a stunned mullet when the cameras roll. I know immediately that I was far too harsh, and I hate the hurt I see in her eyes before her face blanks, and she gives me another of those bland smiles. I see. Well, I appreciate you being so candid with me. I assure you that I intend to act my ass off. I want this film to be as successful as you do. Have a good day. She strides past me, but as she reaches the entrance, she drops one of the shoes she's holding. Fuck! She curses as she bends over to pick it up. All the blood in my body rushes to my crotch as I catch a glimpse of her ass in a red lace thong before she stands up. Luckily, she doesn't look back at me and just continues out of the room while I gape at her departure. I rush into the changing cubicle, lest one of the costume department staff appears to find me with a raging erection from my run-in with my co-star. I lean against the wall and breathe slowly, willing my cock into control. April Conway might be a pop star princess pretending to be an actress, but I'll be damned if she isn't hotter than the sun. I loved getting into Toby's head, and there are a couple of things that, as I was reading it, I thought about. Oh, the blues. So I'd said that it was a police drama. So that was a combination of The Bill, which is a long-running English police drama, and Blue Heelers, which was an Australian police drama. So the blues. There was something else. Oh yeah, when he changes the size of the font. I really struggle show not tell. So I'm trying to show that he needs glasses without just saying, hey, he needs glasses. So that's like something that he could be doing to help be able to read things easier when he doesn't have his glasses. Because I was thinking about it because it's been a long time. When I wore glasses, I got smile surgery actually. This is going to be a tangent. But when I wore glasses, I had to wear them for all the time. I was short-sighted. So I needed them for everything. So I'm not sure. Maybe someone can tell me in the comments what people with reading glasses do if you're like out and about, especially if you're a guy, guys with reading glasses. Because, I mean, ladies with reading glasses would carry them in their purse, I imagine. But what do guys do? Because guys generally don't carry a purse or a bag. They usually just have everything in their pockets. But what if you need your reading glasses? Let me know. Trying to think if there's anything else. So the other thing that I had in here was the idea of heading home with my tail between my legs. That's like, I'm trying to allude to the issues with his family. That's right. The bit about why don't you become a doctor like your brother? Like, I was trying to think about the fact that his family call him Tobias and what sort of things they might have said. And I think definitely that they think that acting is, it's not a real career. And this is his big break, so to speak. So I'm just opened up the April's hero sheet. And that's, I got from, here that made him feel useless. So he's struggling with that. I like that Toby's like a little bit starstruck by April because she comes from my cruise control series. And I really like exploring that side of like fame, but where famous people are just normal people deep down. Like, yes, they have this really wild, different life, but they're still just normal people, right? I also thought since I only have 482 words of the first chapter written so far, I could read that. And you guys can see if you like it so far and let me know in the comments. Chapter 1, chapter title. Yes, it's a placeholder. Chapter 1, chapter title. I groan as I become aware of loud classical music being played in my bedroom. The light is bright behind my eyelids, and I blink a few times after I open my eyes. I look over at the noisy, bright alarm on my bedside table and reach out to hit the snooze button. It doesn't stop the music, and the light stays on, so I flop back on the pillow and groan before hauling myself out of bed. The music is still playing when I come out of the shower, only stopping when I pull the power cord out of the back of the alarm. I find my assistant in the kitchen, pulling her long red hair up into a ponytail, and grumble at her, "Not funny, Simone." We have to leave in 5 minutes. She thrusts a muffin and a cup of coffee at me with a grin on her face. "You'll get the 1812 overture tomorrow if you're not careful." Remind me again why my call time is 5 in the morning. I grumble as Simone helps me get my coat on. "To maximize daylight shooting hours," she tells me. "I've got your pages for today, so you can run through them in the car. I'll be Eric." My stomach flops over at the reminder that today I'll be faced with my co-star, Tobias Jameson, again. I've only met him 3 times, but it was 3 times too many for me. The man seems to have the singular talent to prod at my insecurities and find what hurts. Sure, sounds good. The caffeine is pumping through my veins by the time the car taking us to the set is leaving the gated community of my Hollywood home. I love my fans, but I'm relieved that it's early enough in the day that no fans are waiting to see me at the gates. I don't have enough coffee in me yet to pretend I'm not petrified of filming today. "Here you go," Simone says as she hands me 3 pages of paper. "Is this all?" I ask, looking through them. Yeah, you might not even get this much done. I'm hit by the realization that I'm completely unprepared to shoot this film. I've been in about 50 music videos and I've done more television appearances than I can count, but they were all as myself. Getting the role of Emily felt like a gift when it happened because Getaway Car is my favorite book. But I'd be stupid if I didn't think that who I am played a large part in that happening. When the casting was announced, hashtag not my Emily was trending worldwide from fans of the book. In response, my fans flooded the internet with pictures of me accompanied by hashtag she's my Emily. I feel beholden to both groups of people to not fuck this movie up for them. And that's all I've got. First of all, Simone. That was a suggestion from Simone on the previous video. And I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. I need a name for her assistant. So this YouTube channel is already influencing the book. We're writing a book together. Also, I liked just the hashtag not my Emily because I really think that it's gotta suck for actors when they get cast in a role and the internet responds by like, no, I don't like you. No, not you. Ah. I understand it. Like, you get an idea in your head when you're reading a book of who you want to be in that role. So you're not happy with it. But it's got to be a lot of pressure, right? Because then you've got to, like, she feels that like her fans stuck up for her and she wants to, you know, do the right thing by them, but also not fuck it up for the people who loved the book, like she does. So, yeah, I will show you the outline now. Look, we've got changes. So first day of the shoot is what we're doing now. Then it's going to be her struggling on set, so struggling to act. Then she's going to overhear a conversation between Toby and the director where they basically say she's a terrible actress. Chapter after that, told they need to be in a relationship for PR. Then Toby's going to help April with acting and then some event they need to attend together. So yeah, so I've filled these out now and it will be interesting to see how that goes. There's still a lot of blank space here that I am concerned about, but it's fine. This is a process and I'm showing you guys the process. Part of the process is freaking out about what you'd have to get done. Anyway, I am gonna go write something. I lie, I'm gonna go pick my kids up from school, then write something. And I'm also going to video the breakdown of chapter 6 of Gabriel's album. Now that I'm like back in the swing of doing this, I'm getting excited about doing this again. So that way I can edit it all together. I don't know what days I'll upload those, but that will mean that I'll have that done. I'm excited. I hope you guys have a great day. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe. And if you want to watch me read Gabriel's album and break it down chapter by chapter, I will link that playlist right here. Alrighty, bye.